Yo. Okay, so I just woke up, and instead of running and jumping on Facebook or whatever, that figured better get in the Word, start the day off right. In the Just Jesus challenge, 30 days Just Jesus. Have no idea what day we're on anymore. Too much stuff going on here. If y'all been keeping up, I didn't even get no sleep the night before last. Was up all night doing stuff, and we just been getting blessed day after day. I mean, miracles coming in, people coming out the woodwork to reach out to this family that we're here with. And so we're jumping back, Mark chapter 5. I'm just going to keep going, little by little. So, and they came over unto the other side of the sea, into the country of the Gadarenes. And when he had come out of the ship, immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit, who had his dwelling among the tombs, and no man could bind him, no, not with chains, because that he had often been bound with fetters and chains, and the chains had been plucked asunder by him, and the fetters broken in pieces. Neither could any man tame him. Always day and night he was in the mountains and in the tombs, crying and cutting himself with stones. So you got a man, a demon-possessed man, someone who's living among the dead, and someone who is bound with chains and ropes, and is so tormented that they're cutting themselves. Sound like anyone you know? So everything that we're going to be talking about here is not only on the physical, but there's a symbolic significance, spiritual significance. Okay, so you're dealing with people. This guy represents a type of people. Okay, he's just not an individual. He represents a type of people as well. He is a type. Okay, living among the dead. I mean, he's there walking around, but he's dead. He's possessed by evil spirits. He is chained and bound. And he's so tormented day and night that he's crying and cutting himself. Now, I was never really a cutter. I mean, I did actually do that once or twice when I was younger, a teenager, with angst and just, ugh. But I was possessed by demons. And the thing about it is, I'm not afraid to admit it what it is or call it what it is. Most of you either A, don't believe in unclean spirits or demons, so you refuse to acknowledge what it is. The funny thing is even pastors, okay, most pastors. First of all, I never even hardly hear many pastors speaking on unclean spirits or on demons, even though most of them are dealing with them, and they won't admit their own personal besetting sins and issues are demons. And since they won't admit that, they can never overcome them, because you cannot overcome them until you identify something for what it is, acknowledge it for what it is, and then go to war against that through the power of Christ to cast it out of you and overcome it. So this man is a type. You know anybody out there, cutters or really depressed? I mean, most teenagers I know are like that. They're just got so much confusion, so much angst, and so much chains of insecurities and stuff. But then when he saw Jesus far off, he ran and worshipped him, and cried with a loud voice and said, What have I to do with thee, thou Son of God, the Most High God? I adjure thee by God, that thou torment me not. So this is the Spirit speaking through the man, seeing him from a distance, and realizing him for who he is, Jesus, and begging him not to give him problems. For he said unto him, Come out of the man, thou unclean spirit. And he asked him, What is thy name? Now you got to stop and realize, This is how you deal with spirits and demons. They have names, and they are specific as far as qualities and attributes, what they are, what type of spirit, what kind of, how that manifests in your life. You know, there's a religious spirit, Jezebel spirit, that causes people to use, it's about control and manipulation, witchcraft of words. And so when somebody is acting like that continuously, it's because they're being swayed under the power of a Jezebel spirit. But if you don't know what these spirits are, then you will actually take credit for it yourself and just say, you know, let's say a spirit of fear. The Bible says God does not give us a spirit of fear, but of peace and sound mind and power. So if you're constantly living in fear and worry, and you don't realize what's going on, you'll take credit for it as if it's yourself. Like, oh, I'm just afraid. I'm just scared. I'm just worried. But that's not exactly what the case is, because you are something other than that. And there is fear oppressing you. And since you are giving in to that fear, you are now succumbing to it and taking credit for it as if it's you. I am afraid. But it's not. It's a spirit of fear. Unless you can identify what's going on, say, that is a spirit of fear. And that is not of God. And that is not of me. And I choose to reject that with the truth. Remember, we already talked about Jesus the other day when he went out into the desert, that he constantly battles the lies and the falsities with the truth, being able to identify them as lies by using the truth to compare it with, and then reject what does not match up with the truth. So you got to know the name of exactly what you're dealing with in order to command it to flee. And he answered, saying, My name is Legion, for we are many. And he besought him much that he would not send them away out of the country. So it's not even one spirit this guy's dealing with. This guy's loaded down with evil spirits. You know, the other verse somewhere where it says, you know, somebody cast out a spirit out of someone and cleans out the house. And the spirit goes and doesn't find anywhere to rest. It comes back with 7 more. And so, you know, there's people out there with tons and tons and tons of demons and spirits in them. And he besought him much that he would not send him the way of the country. Now there was nigh unto the mountains a great herd of swine feeding. And all the devils besought him, saying, Send us into the swine, that we may enter into them. And forthwith Jesus gave them leave, and the unclean spirits went out and entered into the swine, and the herd ran violently down a steep place into the sea. And they were about 2,000, and were choked in the sea. Okay, now there's another Bible verse. Okay, when we're getting on the metaphoric level here, the type and shadow level, the spiritual symbolism. There's another verse that says, Do not give what is holy to the dogs. Do not cast your pearls before swine, lest they trample them underfoot and turn to rend you into pieces, or to tear you into pieces. So the swine in this other verse is dealing with people who reject or find no value in your pearls, which are truths and wisdom. And that would actually, they would just trample it underfoot in the mud, meaning that they don't really value it or even see the truth in it. And then on top of that, would actually turn to tear you apart. So be cautious and be careful not to be just sharing all the wisdom and revelation God has been giving you with anyone. This is a big struggle for me because he's put me in a place to be able to wake a lot of people up. And yet at the same time, I'm going to get a lot of pigs who don't see what I'm saying with spiritual eyes. And so they don't see any value in it. They think I'm heretical or blasphemous, trample my pearls underfoot in the mud, and then would actually turn to try and tear me into pieces. Okay, so now with that in mind about these swine and these pigs, think about what I just said now. Now there was nigh unto the mountains a great herd of swine feeding, And all the devils besought him, saying, Send us into the swine, that we may enter into them. Because the pearls of wisdom, the pearls, are actually what cleans you out, what gives you the power to overcome and to be purified and to be filled with Christ, and to walk in his true power and authority, and to have power and dominion over sin. And so those who see no value in that, okay, those who don't even want to listen to you, they don't recognize that they already have demons, whether they be thought forms that they've accepted at some time in their life that is now causing them to think a certain way or act a certain way, whether it be a religious spirit, Jezebel spirit. They already have certain issues that they have not dealt with yet, or they would accept the pearls and see the great value of them. But because they don't, it's evidence that there's still some sort of blockage, especially if they're rejecting violently against the simple truth that sets people free. So the devils besought him, saying, Send us into the swine, that we may enter into them. So whenever it's with the truth, Jesus is setting somebody free right now, okay? He's speaking to a man full of demons, and he's commanding the demons to flee. And the man is going to accept it, because the person has to be willing to accept it, and the other person is casting it out with truth, speaking into the very spirit and soul of the man. So where are they going to go, though? The spirit's got to go somewhere. Where they go is where there already is a habitable place. You see, these swine, on the metaphoric side, they already have issues and demons. So it's nothing for a few more to go jump into them. It's not a big deal. It's already a habitable place. And forth with Jesus gave them leave. He didn't, say, go get in them. He gave them permission to go and enter into them. He could have cast them into a pit. And the unclean spirits went out and entered into the swine, and the herd ran violently down the steep place and into the sea. There were about 2,000, and were choked in the sea. And they were fed, and they that fed the swine fled, and told in the city and in the country that they went out to see what it was that he had done. And when they came to Jesus and see him that was possessed with the devil, and had the legion, sitting and clothed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. And they that saw it told them how it befell to him, and that was possessed with the devil, and also concerning the swine. And they began to pray him to depart out of their coast. So now, the people who were getting paid to feed the swine, getting paid to feed these pigs, they freaked out and ran to the city to tell what had happened. And when everybody came back, they seen the man who was once possessed by the devils, and once out of his mind, and once completely and utterly insane, sitting there, clothed, with sound mind, sitting in peace and smiling. And I was talking to somebody late the other night that was telling me, I don't even remember none of this stuff, but that she remembers things about me that I probably don't remember. Such crazy things, and such things that are so shameful. But remember me walking down the highway one night in a pair of boxers, talking to myself, and just totally shut out. So yeah, probably. I don't remember, but probably. And yet here I am today, professing Jesus Christ all day long, professing the love and forgiveness and grace and power of Jesus Christ all day long, setting people free, doing missions, preaching the gospel, reaching out and loving people, all because of Jesus. And so when those people who are paid to feed the pigs come back and see someone who was once yet totally possessed and totally a demon and devil, and now sitting there with sound mind, with peace, and clothed nicely, instead of saying, wow, tell us how it happened, tell us what you know, tell us what Jesus did, tell us what Jesus told you, They begged Jesus, or the man now filled with Jesus, to leave, to get out. Okay? Jesus, the same guy who came and healed someone, cast devils out of him, changed his life, turned it all around. Instead of coming and asking him, help us, cast more devils out of the people in our town, or share your love with us, they begged him to leave because of the swine, for the sake of the swine. And ain't nothing new. Following Jesus' footsteps, you're going to see the same responses to you. And they began to pray him to depart out of their coast. Get out of here. Get out of here. Take off and leave. We're done. We don't want to hear this. We're out of our jobs now. And when he has come into the ship, he that had been possessed with the devil prayed him that he might be with him. Howbeit Jesus suffered him not, but saith unto him, Go home to thy friends, and tell them how great things the Lord hath done for thee, and hath had compassion on thee. And he departed and began to publish in Decapolis how great things Jesus had done for him. And all men did marvel. So he wanted to follow Jesus around. He said, no, you don't need to. You've already been healed. Now it's your turn to go and tell everybody you come in contact with what has happened to you. Proclaim the goodness of God. Proclaim how awesome Jesus is and his message and the truth and of what he said. And that's what we're each called to do. When Jesus sets us free, when Jesus cleans us out, we immediately go to our friends, our family, into our town, and just profess and proclaim how good he is, how awesome he is, and be the hands of Jesus and the feet of Jesus to the world. You tell everyone you know, and don't stop. And all men will marvel at how he took someone who was dead and made him alive, took someone who was demon possessed and gave him a sound mind and a good spirit of love and compassion and peace.